So my name is Paige Carey, and I'm the Economic Development Coordinator in Foreman. We're a town of about 520 people. And not long after I got this job, about 2 years ago, I wanted to do a Shop Local campaign. And I didn't know much about this type of thing. So I did some research online. And I had always just thought Shop Local campaigns was just a way to encourage people to buy things local rather than go somewhere else. However, after doing some research, I found that there was a little more to it than that, and that there was a broader way to look at it. So my research online that I did on this, I started to realize that it was very important that the businesses themselves were involved, that we didn't just ask the public to spend money, but that we had the businesses also contributing to this campaign as well. And the other thing I liked about some of the sample campaigns I saw was the need to have them be more detailed instead of just saying, please shop local this week or this month, that it was important to give people specifics in order to kind of challenge them more and encourage them to know what to do. So last fall in October, I started working on planning a 9-week Shop Local campaign. If I had to go back and do it again, I would do a shorter one. 9 weeks ended up being a little bit long, but it went over pretty well. So if you can see in front of you, I think Emily has this up. This was our entire campaign, and you see the purpose is to encourage the public to shop local in Foreman. And also our method was to give customers and businesses creative and fun ways to interact and see more business transactions by sharing different assignments each week. So my goal really wasn't even to get more money to the businesses, but just to make people in town realize the different types of businesses that we have and what they have to offer, and also to kind of pull the business owners out of a rut as far as advertising or promoting themselves. So each week, the customers or the public had an assignment starting on November 4th, and the businesses also had an assignment. So this campaign that you're looking at, this was sent out to the businesses. The public was not aware of the full campaign. They only were given the information week by week. So, and as you can see, not all of them involved spending money. The first week, customers were asked simply to visit in person or online, like a Facebook page, a business here in town that they hadn't visited before or maybe hadn't been to in a long time. And then the businesses were encouraged to start getting on social media a little bit more, maybe if they didn't have a social media account to get one. So some of them require spending money, both by the businesses and the customers, but some were simply just a way of connecting customers to the business. One of them was the customers needed to share something positive on social media about a business. For instance, our local grocery store got a great selection of grapes in that week. So I posted a picture on my personal Facebook page and said, hey, Foreman Market has great grapes this week, and kind of just sharing things that way. So my goal, I felt, was really just to get people interested in our local businesses, to know what's out there. And so every Sunday night, I would post a social media post, and I believe Emily has one of those as well, telling people what the assignment or mission was for that week. Then all week I would bring it up a few times. I would also put posters around town for that week showing what they needed to be doing. None of this obviously was required by anyone, and the businesses could opt in or out, and they could do some of the weeks and not other weeks. So I did see some positive things. One of our local businesses ended up revamping their whole store. They changed things around, and they got so much positive feedback they ended up renovating their shop. And a few others, like I believe one of the last weeks was encouraging customers to buy gift cards or gift certificates. And I did get reports that they saw an uptick in the increase of gift certificates that week. So I felt like my goal was realized, and that it got people talking. It was kind of something more interesting for people, and yeah, it was just kind of an encouragement for the town and for the businesses. It kind of made them realize they have to do a few things too new, and for the public to support those businesses. So, any questions?
Awesome.
It sounds like a really great idea, and I'd like to follow in your path. I might be calling with questions from Carrington, because I think we do need to get our businesses out of being in a rut.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, I felt like it was good for the businesses because even though they didn't have to do these things, they suddenly saw in black and white, on this sheet saying, hey, why don't you change things around? Maybe get a new sign, or maybe even just move your sign, do something different. And I think it was good for them too. So
this is Paul Gunderson from Harvey. I just really like your idea of businesses participating. Our downtown is composed of folks who firmly believe that just merely having the lights on and the sidewalk shoveled, that's good enough. And
right.
That's just not going to do it in today's marketplace.
Right.
So this was very innovative, I think. I'm looking at your entire document here. Is that free for some of us to use? Would you mind?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd be happy to share it, and you guys can do whatever you want with it. I plan to do it again this fall and just revamp it and change it up a little bit with some new stuff. But absolutely, you are free to use it however you would like. Yep.
All
yeah,
right.
I feel like too, like some of the businesses too, just like I said, when I went into it, it was kind of like, well, we just need to encourage the public to shop local. And I thought, well, that's not really fair. The businesses just do everything the way they've always done it and expect more people to come in. And we need to have them have a little skin in the game too. So, and I think it was kind of enjoyable for some of them. I think they kind of like, maybe I should get a Facebook page. Maybe I should, get a new rug at the front door. So, yep.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Deb Nelson, and I am the administrator of a consortium called Vision West ND, Vision West North Dakota. We are a grassroots consortium of people, businesses, industry, organizations, cities, counties, who are interested in sustainability for our communities, particularly our mid-sized and small communities in the energy-producing counties in western North Dakota. So that's 19 counties that we work with, but we have also been working with some additional counties who are interested in some of what we're doing. And so we're happy to share what we are doing with everyone in the state. Vision West North Dakota has, as part of its sustainability project, has adopted a program that we've been working on now for about 3 years called Go Local ND. And Emily has the website up, so it's easy to find. It's just golocalnd.com. And if you're on the home page, Emily, if you scroll down just a little bit to down to the shift 10%. I'm going to talk about that just a little bit more when we get to that. I think what we're going to do, Emily, is just work on the tabs across the top. But basically, Main Street is our focus. Our focus is on businesses because without businesses, we can't be good, sustainable, and thriving communities. And we don't have to have huge amounts of businesses, but we do have to have some businesses that create some connectedness to the community. What we do know is that if people are not connected to their communities, they will not shop local. They have to have some sort of engagement. And so we are encouraging more than just shop local. We're encouraging go to local events, support your local downtown socials or events that they have, support your local schools, volunteer locally, give locally. And if you do those things, you tend to become more and more engaged in your community. The more engaged you are in your community, the more you're going to shop in your own community and figure out how you can help that community survive. So that's really what that's all about. If we go to the About page, that gives us a little bit more information. So Go Local ND like Vision West North Dakota, is all about economic diversification, and it is one of our top resources or one of our top priorities of Vision West North Dakota. The goal basically is to help those local economies by maximizing the potential of local businesses and transferring market share from non-locally owned businesses, as I said, to locally owned businesses. And so that's really what this is all about. We have resources that we put on a fairly regular basis, and if we scroll down, you can see that there are research and there's also marketing. So if you flip between those two, you can see what those are. So if we click on the marketing, we try to put some things on here that people will be able to use, either in newsletters or in ads or on their Facebook pages, wherever they can get a message out. We have joined with an organization, Independent We Stand, and so we are a member of that, a premier member, and so when you are wanting to promote local independently owned business, you can click onto the Independent We Stand, different icons. And so we have a lot of different, as you go down, you can see that we do have some graphics there. And we're building the website as we go more and more. Every week we're trying to put now new things on. The reason it has been standing still for a little while, we haven't had funding, but we just recently were able to get a Bush Foundation grant to help us with this. So now we are working on it a lot more than what we were before. And so if we go back to that resources tab on top, Emily, and you go back to research, we are pulling some information up from a wonderful website called ND Compass and trying to put some information out on that. We again are, for instance, let's pull up that dollar bill, Emily. Why does local foods matter? We're also starting to work really closely now with the concept of local foods, because we think that if we can engage our local producers and our local foods people, that they will also help sustain our community and our communities can help sustain them. We really do need to rely a lot on our local producers who don't necessarily live right in town, but who do shop locally. So we have older posts. You can see Thanksgiving holiday graphics, Go Local ND Project Update down in the bottom. The Capital that's here, that's a series that we put on that came out of ND Compass, and we are promoting ND Compass. They are a wonderful website for data. If you don't use them, I would suggest you do. They are really, really good to get good information, some of which is community-based or city-based, some of which is county-based. We are we're writing blogs. We're doing this now, starting to do it twice a week. And you can see that our latest one was for last week. It was Small Business Week last week. And we talked a lot about, if you scroll down, you can see what kind of share of all employees are in those different sized businesses. And this is out of the Census Bureau. We've looked at North Dakota specifically. And so that's, we also have a Mother's Day blog, and we've been putting on, if you keep looking, just scrolling down, you can see some of the things that we've been talking about. See the picture of the two ladies. Those are two of my staff people who work on the Vision West North Dakota and the Go Local campaign. Aspen is right in front, and Carol Lee is behind her. We have developed, these are 3D printed forks that we are just getting the printing done on, and we're giving it out to some of our local communities so that they can use those to market some of their local restaurants, some of their local eating places, or in their grocery stores, and they can put a fork and take pictures, and you can use that throughout. So we will have those available for the communities that are participating with us in Western North Dakota. So as you scroll down, you can see the various blogs that we have, and we will be putting those on, as I said. twice a week is our goal, and I think we're going to reach that goal. This is something we started 2 or 3 years ago, and one of the things that we do know is we will get a lot of negative feedback if we tell people that they can't shop online, or they can't go to Amazon, or they can't go to any other online store, or drive to the nearest big city to shop. People are going to do that regardless of how much we ask them to shop local. And so what we've decided to do is just simply ask people to consider taking 10% of what they spend out of town. What do you spend in Fargo, or what do you spend in Bismarck, or what do you spend at Amazon.com? What do you spend at whatever that online store might be? 10%, shift that back to your local community. And you would be amazed at the amount of dollars that generates back to your community. We know that for every, you can see as you scroll down, new dollars recirculating, a 10% shift in local spending will bring back just about $178 in new economic activity for every single person that makes that 10% shift in their community. So we have done pledges, asking people to pledge to shift 10%. In our first campaign, we actually had a contest between some of our communities. You can see that if half the residents, it says a small shift makes a big difference, half the residents in the Vision West North Dakota region, just in our 19 counties, if half of them made that 10% shift, we would have more than $19 million in new economic activity, 217 potential new jobs, and 702,000 new wages would just be generated back to our communities. This came from the 2015 data, so it's maybe a little outdated right now, so we will be updating that. It's amazing how much you can bring back to your community if you just pledge to shift. Emily, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see the pledge to shift. We did this online. You can do it in your community. You can do it in the newspaper, on your Facebook page. However you want to try to gather that information and ask people to consider shifting 10%. This has been a really big, we've gotten a lot of support on the Shift 10% campaign, and we've used marketing tools that go with that, basically saying if you shift 10% of your local spending, you will have the potential of having more books in your library, or you'll have, it pays for more ambulance drivers or EMTs or police officers or those local city and county employees will benefit from it, as well as, of course, the businesses themselves. So that's been a big part of our Go Local ND campaign. We did have pilot communities. We had 9 pilot communities, and you can click on to see what those are. We are now increasing that. We're going to have 15 pilot communities that we're going to be going in and doing some specific work in face-to-face in those communities to help them improve their local spending. And we're also this year going to be, or in the next 2 years, we're going to be concentrating on helping our cities and counties understand that, yes, while it's important for everybody to shop locally if at all possible, it's also just as important for our municipalities and our counties to shift 10% of their purchasing that they might do outside of their own community back to their community as well. And so more and more of our cities and counties are trying to do that, but we still have some that have procurement policies that require them to take the lowest bid regardless of where that might be. And so we are trying very hard to help them understand how they can develop procurement policies that allow them to spend perhaps a little bit more than they normally would have if they would shop locally, because the benefit will come back to them. So that's something we're going to be working on more this year. And then you can contact us if you go to the contact. We will help you. You are free to use anything we put on the website. This is open to any community that wants to use it. Our grant dollars go to us working in the specific communities in Western North Dakota that are signed up to do this. But the materials that we develop, the blog articles, educational materials, resources, all of those are available for you to use. If you have questions or you want to share anything with us, you can see there's a number of ways to do that. If you click on the envelope, it goes to, or you can get us by email. You can get certainly by snail mail if you want to go that route. There's our telephone number, and we also have Facebook. So there's any number of ways that you can reach us and get some information from us on this particular campaign. So in a nutshell, that's our Go Local campaign. I could probably go on and on and on forever and ever, but I promised Emily I would not. I maybe haven't gone as long as I wanted to, or as you wanted me to, Emily, but that's really it in an overview of the campaign. And like I said, feel free, if any of this information is something that you feel you can use, feel free to go ahead and use it. What I would like to know, however, if you do decide to use it, if you would just send an email on the contact page and let us know what community you're in and how you use the materials, that would help us greatly with our grant source that we have to report to. So I would entertain questions, I guess, at this point in time.
Deb, you mentioned a couple of pilot communities that you've done this in. I'm wondering what type of response you've heard or seen, either from shoppers or for the local businesses.
Some of our communities grabbed onto this campaign, and they continue to do it even after the grant funding was over. Some of our communities weren't organized, and so it took them some time to get going, and in fact might just be kind of starting about now, because it's taken a lot of organization for them. I can tell you that Botno, Bowman, Crosby, Hazen, and Stanley are just going great guns with this project, and they've had tremendous support. I can give you a little idea on what some of them have done. Hazen, Antoinette, the chamber director there, she uses our Go Local materials in every single newsletter she does. And in fact, almost every single promotion that she does, she attaches Go Local ND, so that her community understands and is able to get that brand. In Stanley has done some, and Crosby, they've both done some innovative kinds of things with getting people to understand Go Local. So both of them implemented a Give Local campaign. One was Give Time, the other one was more philanthropic, give to your local charities. So if they looked at the one that was volunteer, and they had little cards, they handed it out all over town, and had these little cards, and it was for every, I think 5 hours, I could be wrong about that number, but I think it was for every 5 hours they volunteered. No, I take that back. I think it was for every hour they volunteered. They got initialed from where they volunteered for to, and then at the end of whatever that campaign time was, I think it was maybe a month. At the end of that month, they turned in their cards, and they were eligible for chamber bucks to be drawn for. And people enjoyed that. They had a good time with it. We had Kenmare got out information into their community. They didn't have a newsletter, but they got information out through their utility billing. They just put little flyers out in their utility billing about reminding people to engage locally. And Bowman has used Go Local in just about everything that they've been doing. They just put it into their newsletter. They put it on their Facebook page. Botno tells me that they have used every single thing we have on our website and are starting to recycle it because we don't have enough. They put a lot of information into their local papers. They use some of our blog articles as informational pieces that they will put into their local midweek finder, and they try to educate their people that way. And it's been accepted really quite well. And what most of our communities have done, Emily, and we've tried really hard to make sure that if they are a Main Street community, that they tie the Go Local project and the Main Street community projects together because they work together so well. In fact, our project, Go Local ND, started several years ago with a project that we called our Main Street Success Project, which we actually started before the governor's Main Street campaign, before he was governor, so before his Main Street campaign started. So we've had a connection to Main Street projects for quite some time. And one of the things that we are doing this year is we are going to be sending out a survey. We're giving it to each community. They'll get it out any way they can. But sending out a survey to the local residents to get their feedback on what would they like to see their community have, what do they like about their community, what do they think their community is missing, and just get some information that they think will help locally. So we'd also be willing to share that survey questions if anybody is interested in doing something like that. And what we're hoping that will do is allow our communities who are participating to do a little bit better planning when they are planning their campaigns and looking at their campaigns. Also, our municipalities when they're looking at the kinds of planning that they need to do as well. So we have a lot of things going with it, and like I said, we're very open to sharing all of that information with anybody that's interested.
Thank you so much, Deb.
You're welcome.
Hey, Deb, this is Buster.
Hi, Buster.
Nathan. Yeah, hey, I just wanted to, for those that don't know, I'm also on the Vision West board. And one of the things that I thought was quite intriguing as we moved into some of the Go Local, and I did not do a lot with it other than sat in the background and watched, but at various meetings, we did have presentations from local communities in terms of what they were doing with their Go Local. And I'm not sure if that stuff's archived or not, Deb, but I found that information to be really helpful, for anybody that's looking at what they might try to do and you need a little creativity. A number of those gals that were part of that really did a nice job with their presentation. So I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, thanks, Buster. We do have some of that archived. We have some of their little campaigns and, those kinds of things we do have. And we also have their PowerPoints if anybody is interested in seeing what came out of those individual communities.
Emily, thanks so much. With applause to both Foreman and Vision West, and appreciation to you and the North Dakota Commerce Department for inviting me to be part of the webinar today. I'm David K. Martin, the State Director for the North Dakota Small Business Development Centers, and want to talk a little bit about small business in North Dakota, also a little bit about shop local and why that really does matter. You've heard it from Foreman, you've heard it from Vision West, you'll hear it from me as well. And then Emily, because you asked me to talk a little bit about small business succession planning, want to spend a few minutes talking about that too. The North Dakota Small Business Development Centers is a partnership between the U.S. Small Business Administration, the North Dakota Department of Commerce, and the University of North Dakota, federal, state, and local governments, created by Congress, administered by the U.S. Small Business Administration, created for the purpose of providing training and technical assistance to entrepreneurs and small businesses across the entire state of North Dakota. We serve all 53 counties and clients in all 53 counties of our state. And just a snapshot from our 2018 annual report shows you the number of individual clients that we served, the number of free hours of small business advising that we provided. By law, our services must be provided free of charge. We helped clients to form more than $52 million in capital. We helped clients to start 98 new businesses in the state, helped our clients to create or retain 578 jobs. And while we do more technical assistance and training, we involved 521 North Dakota entrepreneurs and small businesses in training events, which were all collaborative training events. We don't do any training as a statewide program and network unless it's done collaboratively. And I might mention that Emily hosted a meeting yesterday to talk about small business succession planning in North Dakota communities, and a project that will be forthcoming out of that involving the Commerce Department, the North Dakota State University Extension Service, us, and some other entities. And we do work with clients, as I mentioned, on a statewide basis. Here's just 3 examples. By law, we cannot disclose client information unless they give us permission to do that. Our services are confidential and free of charge. But in Minnewacan, in Dwight, and in Bowman, here are 3 client success stories where the client said, yeah, go ahead and tell them that we worked with you and we found you helpful and we appreciated your free client business advising services. What kind of expertise do we have? Well, our expertise kind of runs the gamut. Our business advisors across the state are expected to know a lot about a lot of things, from startup logistics and funding your venture to purchase or sale of a business and business succession planning. Operating challenges, how do you market your business or do market research for your business? How do you find employees? Do you want to do business with federal, state, and local government entities that purchase goods and services? Do you want to get involved in international trade? 98% of our clients are quite happy with us. We're glad to know that, but we exist to serve our clients and to help meet their needs, so we want them to be happy, and if we're not meeting their needs, to let us know that. And here's a map of the state. We have currently 8 geographically dispersed service centers across the state. I always do it alphabetically: Bismarck and Bowman, Devils Lake and Dickinson, Fargo and Grand Forks, Minot and Williston. And we do produce a business resource guide, and I want to mention this to Main Street communities and you as community leaders, just because we use this with our clients and our referral sources, and our referral sources tend to be lenders and economic developers. I tell people when I go out to speak to groups that, yeah, we wrote the book, here it is. If you need some help, let us know, because this guide can walk entrepreneurs and small businesses through the way that they should go to get a business going and growing. But as communities and community leaders, we're happy to provide this to you as well. So in your community, if you've got people thinking about starting a business, thinking about growing a business, thinking about selling a business, you could hand them one of our resource guides and then say, and if you need more help, let us know, or get a hold of your North Dakota Small Business Development Centers. They're here for that purpose, and by the way, their services are confidential and free of charge. And so there's just a peek at the table of contents. You know, there's like 45 pages of information in this business resource guide, and it's all geared to helping entrepreneurs and small businesses to start, manage, and grow their small business. North Dakota, a great state, has 53 counties and 357 communities. This isn't alphabetical, it's by population estimates for 2017, again from the U.S. Census Bureau. But there are a lot of wonderful communities, large and small, across the entire state. And Emily and I have been to a lot of them. In fact, I've been in the state longer than Emily. I've been to most of them. And whether it's Fargo or Russo, everybody living in those communities wants and needs goods and services, and many of the businesses in those communities want to provide those goods and services, which is why also shopping local matters. Here's a snapshot of North Dakota. In the U.S., there are more than 30 million small businesses, most of the businesses in America are small businesses, and that's important to keep in mind. That's also true here in North Dakota. And so when you need, as I tell people all the time, gas or groceries, a car or clothes, a plumber or an electrician, you can get some of that on Amazon, and I confess that I shop on Amazon too. I don't shop on Amazon very much. I truly am a small town kid and a buy local guy, so I'd rather go in to the local store in any community and find what I'm looking for, and if they don't have it, then I'll look somewhere else. But here are the 10 top reasons to support locally owned businesses, and both Foreman and Vision West mentioned some of these. But keeping dollars in the local economy matters. Jobs and wages in the community, public benefits, all of these are reasons to shop local in any community in North Dakota. And I want to tell you a little bit about why where you spend your money really does matter. And I hope that you'll share this information with the people in your communities across the state, because when you shop locally, you're shopping smarter. And this first of 3 sections of this graphic tells you that for every $100 spent in a local business, 68 of those dollars are probably going to stay in the local community, while only 43 of those dollars are going to potentially stay in the community if you're doing business with a non-local business. So that's a $25 difference in every $100 spent in every local community. So think about that is a financial reason to shop smarter by shopping locally. Again, some people are just looking, but given the right opportunity, the right product, and the right price, they're probably going to make that purchase locally if they can. But small businesses also support one another, and that's another very important reason to shop local. And little changes, as Deb pointed out, can make a big difference. So where you spend your money really does matter. And if you can't find it in your community, maybe you can find it in the next community, or the community that happens to be where you go to work, where you go to get your education or higher education, where you go to get your health care, or for restaurant and entertainment opportunities that don't exist in your local community, but you can still be doing business in your local community and those that are nearby, and where you spend your money really does matter. Key takeaways for local leaders. Local leaders in communities large and small in North Dakota really do have an important role, and hopefully do or really need to understand small business development. And, to some extent, in larger communities, maybe that's seemingly easier than in smaller communities. But in smaller communities, you kind of know everybody in the community, and sometimes you can have an even larger impact at the local level from local leaders in smaller communities than you can in larger communities. And it's just really important to support entrepreneurs and small businesses, to communicate with them, to make sure that regulations locally are as business friendly as possible while still being appropriate. And by showing some leadership in the community and saying, you know what, I shop local too, and that's important to me, and we're going to do what we can as a town or township or a city to make sure that we're doing business locally when we can. Again, everybody wants to save money, tax dollars and otherwise, and so it's good steward of tax dollars to get the best bang for your buck. But at the same time, if you're doing business locally, if you can get those goods and services locally, you're actually benefiting those local businesses and the people that work for them and the people that shop there, and keeping those dollars circulating in your local community. Local leaders need to provide an accessible way for businesses to interface with them, and sometimes maybe it's just going in as a community leader to ask local businesses, how's it going? What can we do to help? And, doing business with that local business. And it does say in the top bullet point on this slide, outside organizations with technical experience, resources, and relationships are also essential. So here's a pitch for Deb and Vision West, as well as a pitch for the North Dakota Commerce Department and its Main Street initiative, as well as, I suppose, a pitch for your North Dakota Small Business Development Centers. Help is available, often free of charge, and it's good help, and it's okay to ask for help. North Dakota has a proud pioneering spirit where you'll help somebody else in a heartbeat and never ask for help yourself. Well, it's okay to ask for help, and help is available. So I want to talk a little bit about succession planning for just a couple of minutes, and as you look at this slide, I just want to give you a couple of facts or statistics. Nationally, statistics show that more than 2/3 of businesses, large and small, don't have succession plans. In a large business, succession planning is who's going to be our next CEO or our next chief financial officer or our next chief marketing officer or something else. But in small businesses, it's going to be who's going to take over when I die, retire, or move away. And I think we all prefer that middle one, retire, as opposed to die or move away. But more than 2/3 of businesses, large and small, simply don't have succession plans. National statistics also say that for small businesses in North Dakota and any other state, if a business is going to be sold, it's usually not going to be sold to a family member. Actually, that might seem surprising. It's usually going to be sold to a key employee, someone else in the community, or just somebody else that's willing and able to purchase the business. So again, small business succession planning really does matter, and it needs to be intentional. And then this just in from the second annual Inside Small Business Survey, revealing that the entrepreneurial spirit in America remains strong. Nearly 2/3 of Americans dream of opening a small business. What's more, the survey found that age is no indicator of the entrepreneurial dream. 54% of Americans say they would rather open a small business than retire if money or health were not a factor in life. And national studies showed true that while we think of entrepreneurs as being young professionals, the largest percentage of entrepreneurs these days are encore entrepreneurs, older folks like I've become, not in retirement or at retirement, and saying, you know what, I'm not ready to be done. I think I'm going to see if I can't buy a small business and run it in my community. So why plan for succession? Running a business is hard work, and most business owners find themselves too absorbed in the business to work on longer-term problems like planning for succession. And in our experience, unfortunately, a lot of times the owner waits until kind of the last minute, and then health issues come into play, or they really do want to retire, or they're just plain tired because running a small business takes a lot of time and effort. And I'm going to put a for sale sign in the window and see if I can get any takers. Not the best time and way to plan for succession. So life changes, relationships, and mortality all come into play, whether or not we want to think about it. A good succession plan will meet the needs and goals of the business owner, but it should also meet the needs of other important stakeholders in the business, like employees, like customers, like the community. And a good planning process will involve all major stakeholders. Now, most small business owners aren't going to consider, maybe they'll consider their employees or even their customers as stakeholders. They may not consider their community, the charities and community causes they support, the school district in which they've educated their children. But if you're looking at it from a community leader perspective, you're going to want to think about that. Do you want to keep this small business in your community? And as hard as it can be to ask that question of a small business owner, if you think they're getting to the point at which they might want to be done, encouraging them to plan ahead will make it better for them in terms of the value of the business and getting it sold and transition, and better for the employees, the customers, and the community as well. It's also going to help to retain relationships necessary for the business to succeed and for that owner to be happy knowing that they've done a good job running that business and meeting the needs of customers, employees, and community, and now it's somebody else's turn. So, succession planning process outline starts with goal setting by the business owner, then maybe some goal setting with other stakeholders, then planning and managing the succession process. Identifying a best case scenario is okay for the business owner. Here's what I would hope to happen. Here's what I would want to happen. Here's what I would try to help make happen. But to also explore other options in case that best case doesn't work out somehow. And then, of course, actually implement the plan. It's like implementing any strategic plan. You can have a great strategic planning process. If the plan goes on the shelf and never gets used, it was a great strategic planning process that maybe didn't lead to the results you were hoping for. So there are strategies and tools, including business valuation is a key. We find that many business owners that wait until the end find out their business isn't worth quite as much as they thought it was or hoped it would be. That's not helpful to the owner when they want to sell. Maybe a good deal for the buyer when they want to buy. Are you going to keep it in the family if it's a family-owned business? Are you going to be able to keep it in the family? Do the kids know that you think they should take over the business when you're ready to retire? buy-sell agreements, maybe a management buyout or a sale to employees or outsiders. Number 9 is maybe a strategy or a tool, but I think most small businesses, their employees or customers and communities don't want to see the business liquidated and go out of business. So in conclusion, since the 1980s, entrepreneurs and small business owners have been receiving greater recognition as drivers of economic growth. Most businesses in America and in North Dakota are small businesses. Interesting little set of statistics there at the bottom of the slide. Small businesses created 64% of new jobs in the U.S. during the past decade, and it's been estimated, and I think this is important for community leaders, that they donate up to 250% more than large businesses do to local causes and nonprofits. Many Americans frequent large businesses and chain stores without even thinking about buying local, shopping local. They automatically assume that, my local stores just aren't going to have what I want. If they have what I want, it's going to be at a higher price. But that isn't always true. And small businesses offer local flavor, customer care, and support for community causes that you don't always find in larger businesses. Almost universally, local leaders understand the value, importance, benefit, and impact of small businesses in their communities, but they may not be intentional in fostering an environment that's going to help those small businesses to start, grow, and thrive in serving their communities and residents. So local leaders, a plea and a fact. You can do a lot as local leaders, as local government, as local economic developers, as local lenders and others to help your small businesses to be and remain successful if you put a little time and effort into that. And local businesses also contribute to your community's sense of place and uniqueness. Foreman, that's true. Vision West, that's true. Across the state, that's true. In fact, Deb's communities that are participating in that shop local effort all have unique little businesses that are part of the community's charm and attraction. And if you can encourage local residents to remember to shop local too, while you invite visitors to do the same, you'll keep those local businesses going and growing. Emily, that's what I got for you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, David. I've got a couple of questions, but before I ask my questions, I'm wondering if anybody on the line has a question for David or for any of our presenters.
David, this is Deb. Thank you for that. There, you have some wonderful information. Would you be willing to share your PowerPoint? And if I have questions on some of your where I can source some of that information that you have, can we have a conversation about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. Happy to do that. Anytime.
Thank you.
So, David, I have one quick question for you, and this is, now that I'm thinking about it, not a quick question. But so we've been talking a lot recently about this idea of an entrepreneurial ecosystem and recognizing that it isn't just one thing in a community that helps people start a new business if that's what they want to do. There's a whole bunch of different factors: the community culture, the resources that are available, demand for their service or product. We've got a couple of minutes left here, and I'm wondering if you could take a minute or two to just talk about some of what you've seen in other communities that have helped kind of create that entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Absolutely, Emily. And you and I, the Commerce Department and the North Dakota Small Business Development Centers and Emerging Prairie out of Fargo were involved with several regional events statewide last year in that regard. And I think the key is, and I'm not a biologist or a real big nature guy, I love spending time in nature, but if you think of an environmental ecosystem, it has, grass and trees and skies and lakes and bugs and frogs and a whole lot of other stuff, and they all are part of that ecosystem, and they all have a role to play somehow in the grand design of that ecosystem. The same is true in an entrepreneurial ecosystem, where the sum of the parts creates a much greater whole, and it helps people to see the connections that they can have, the resources that are available, how they ought to relate to and support one another, and how by working together they can help even bigger and better things to happen. I'm the retired CEO of the Regional Chamber of Commerce in Fargo-Moorhead, and I used to say in almost every presentation that I gave that competition makes us stronger, but cooperation makes us better. And I think that's a key to an entrepreneurial ecosystem. If the entities can cooperate instead of compete, they can work together and roll up their sleeves and help make things better in a township or a town, in a city or a county, even in the great state of North Dakota with all of its various parts, because not everybody has the same mission, not everybody has the same expertise, not everybody has the same role. And so, Emily, I think it is looking around the ecosystem in a community or a county to say, who else is involved or ought to be involved or wants to be involved, and how can we work together to map a strategy to grow our economy by bringing all of the pieces and parts together. The school system, the healthcare system, the public library or the county museum, if they're parts and pieces, because as we look at tourism and other parts of our economic activity in any community or county in the state, they all have a role to play. And as you build that list and build out that list, there are just more and better things to have and do that are going to make it a better place to live and work, to learn and play, to visit and do business.
Awesome. Excellent information, David.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up here, but thanks to everybody who joined today, and special thanks to Paige from Foreman, Deb from Vision West ND, and to David from SBDC for their time. And I will make sure to send out all the resources from today's webinar